Hey everybody, and welcome to the Water Break Podcast. I'm your host, Brittany Woods. Thank you so much for being here. I just wanted to first start out with saying thank you guys so much for all the support and loving messages that you guys have sent me over the past month or so about my podcast. It means so much to me. I appreciate it so much. I do have a little announcement. I was able to add my podcast to a couple different platforms. So if you're a YouTube person, then awesome, keep watching. But if you prefer Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or Google Podcasts, I also have those out on those platforms as well. Another note about the Apple Podcasts is if you have time to subscribe to me and to write a review, I would so much appreciate it. The more reviews and the higher star rating that I get, the higher that I'll be bumped up on anybody that searches for any topics that I talk about. So if you guys could do that, I'd love that. Thank you. So I'll just get right into the topic that I want to talk about today. It gets me very excited and fired up. One thought that came to me was if there was one thing that I could tell myself when I was 18 years old, right after I graduate high school, you're getting excited, you're starting to live your own life, you have so many more responsibilities. And I was just thinking about, I am 29, and so it's been more than 10 years since I graduated high school. So I have gone through so much. I've done so much with my life. But at times you kind of look back and reflect and think about if there was one thing that I could tell myself when I was 18, or maybe if there was some advice that I could have given myself when I was 18, what would it be? And I hope that at some time in your life that you ask yourself that question. What are some goals that you had when you were 18? What are some desires, dreams, things that you just imagined and just felt so inspired to do and to create in this life? What are things that empower you and things that you absolutely love that you just want to share with everybody? Did you have that when you were 18? And I think about that when I was that young, and I remember being very nonchalant about going to college because all growing up, I kind of had this idea that I already knew what my plans were because my parents suggested that, and everybody kind of in my family had this unspoken word that you graduate high school, you go to college, you get a job and you get married and you have kids, you get a house. It's kind of like this unspoken word that I had all growing up. And I kind of just assumed that I was going to follow that path my whole life. And I had a thing that I'm sure a lot of you guys have. And that phrase is known as people pleasing. I did a lot of people pleasing when I was young. And I kind of let my life be chosen by other people around me. And what I mean by that is this path that I talked about earlier. I assumed that that pathway was going to lead me to happiness and everything was going to be great. Once I get to the end of that, I've completed my life's goal and everything was going to be perfect. And I ended up getting to that point in my life where I had a couple babies, I had a house, I had a husband, I had a really great job. And I came to the thought that kind of ran in my mind over and over and over was, is this all there is? Because I had, ever since I was young, I had this idea of all the things that I wanted to do in my life. And it was based off of other people's opinions and other people's expectations of me. I never got to a point in my life where I was trying to figure out who I really was. I guess what I'm trying to say is when I was 18, I just took the path that everybody expected me to take. And one thing that I wish that I could have told myself, if I could go back in time right now and tell my 18-year-old self, hey, there is no pressure. You are only 18 years old, and there is nobody forcing you to do anything. You do not have to be forced into college, getting married, having kids, buying a house, all those things. It's not the set way of life. Just because you make those choices doesn't mean you're automatically going to be happy. And if I could have told myself that back then, I would have been able to really discover who I really was. And that to me is the most important thing, at least in my life right now. Just in the last couple of years, I have put so much effort and thought work into discovering who I am. And it's a long road. If I would have been able to start when I was 18 to figure out who I truly was, I would have been able, my life could be completely different right now. It's true, because a couple of years ago, there was a time where I was literally sitting on my couch with my newborn baby, my second baby, and I was so miserable. I literally had everything that I ever wanted and dreamed and couldn't understand why I was so unhappy. And at that moment, I decided I was going to make a change and I was going to figure out what the problem was, figure out why I can't be as happy as everybody else around me. Back then, it's not true that everybody's happy all the time, but you feel that way. You feel like you aren't doing all the right things. You're miserable and you don't know why, and you don't know how to change it. After I read Rachel Hollis's book, Girl Wash Your Face, it's a self-improvement book, and it was kind of her experience on discovering herself and being true to herself. And I thought, maybe that's it. Maybe I just need to figure out who I am and find goals and things that make me happy. The more that I looked into questions and hobbies that I had and things that I loved and what I didn't like, I could not figure them out. I would literally ask myself questions and I didn't know the answer to them. A lot of times growing up, I would just answer questions that people would ask me. The answer would be something that I think that they would like or what they wanted out of me. So I was super good at reading people. I could meet somebody and within a couple minutes, I could mirror them and know exactly what they wanted me to say and how to act and things that they wanted me to do. It's very trippy, but I was good at that. And that was kind of like my thing. And as I kept on going through life, doing that, agreeing and just going along with what everybody wanted, I was losing pieces of myself more and more and more. And there was like 90% of these stacked up lies that I had in my head of who I thought I was. And this little tiny 10% of myself that was my true self. And I rarely got to show it. And so I just want, if you guys are feeling this way, I know what it feels like to have everything that you thought you wanted and be unhappy, and then immediately feel guilty for it because you should be happy. Why aren't you more grateful for things? Why aren't you this or that? And I just went on this roller coaster of those ideas and thoughts over and over again. And I was just so miserable. And once I got into self-improvement, I really started to figure out that I needed to find out who I truly was. And so one tip that I just want to tell you guys that really helped me was just asking yourself get to know you questions. I literally went onto the internet, and because I was so confused, there were times where somebody would ask me something, and in the back of my head, I'm like, okay, what do I really think about this? Because I would always just respond of how they wanted me to respond. And I would really think about, okay, what do I really feel about this opinion? Or what would I really do in this situation? That is my true self. And I struggled finding out who that person was and what I would really do and what my true opinions were. And so I decided that I was going to figure out who I was. It was almost like a get to know you game with myself. I got into the internet and I looked up all the questions of get to know you questions. And I sat down and I probably answered over 100 questions and mind you, this took several days because there were questions on there that I literally didn't even know. I had to research all the different options of a question to really find out what I liked. Like, for example, I don't know if you guys have watched My Best Friend's Wedding, Runaway Bride, the chick flick. And she talks about so she goes on like a whole bunch of dates with these guys. And every time she goes to the restaurant and they order eggs, she just orders the same eggs as him, whatever date she's on with. And she never actually knows what type of eggs she actually likes. And so she goes home one day and literally makes every single type of egg to figure out what type of egg she actually liked. And that was me. That's exactly what I did. And the more and more that I discovered about myself, the more that it made me happy and whole. Like I was discovering a whole new side of myself. And then once I answered some of those questions, I could go out in life and have conversations with people and actually say what I felt and my real opinion and things that I actually wanted to say or things that I actually wanted to do. People would ask me, hey, do you want to go to the mall with me to go to this store in this restaurant? And I never even thought to wonder if I actually like those places because I would just go along with whoever and whatever. And that sounds so crazy. Like, why would you just let everybody live your life for you? But in my head, it felt so much easier and better, and everything could go so much smoother. And so if you guys are struggling with this, just feeling like you're unhappy, you don't know where to go, you don't even know where to start, and you're starting to notice that you're just unhappy and you don't know why, I challenge you guys to just figure out who you are and figure out what your true hobbies are, what your true likes and dislikes are, and go through every option and find out and think about who you truly are and what you can give to yourself and to your family. And I just really hope that this message rings true to somebody out there, because once I started to discover who I truly was and what I really was, that is when the true growth and true happiness inside my heart started to reveal itself. My family has no idea that I've gone on this long 2-year journey. It's been about 2 years since I read my first self-help book, and it has completely changed my entire life. For them looking in, they would never even know. But for me, my life is so much better and happier. And I know that in future episodes, I will share more and more about the different things that I've learned and the things that I've done and changed with my life just to make me a little bit happier. I know I'll be talking about that later, But I just wanted to share that with you and hope that if there is any of you guys out there that are confused and lost, I challenge you to first build that relationship with yourself. Have a super strong relationship with yourself. Create trust and love and kindness with yourself. The more that you do that and the more that you discover more amazing things about yourself, the happier that you're going to be. So I just want to leave that with you guys, and I hope you have an amazing week. Thank you so much for following me, and I love you guys so much. Bye.